you're watching another episode with me, Lakshmi Baker, on In Person. And today we're going to interview a favorite personality of mine. He's made it so huge in the food business, in the F&B business, and I love the principles that he works and lives by. I want to share all those values with you guys. So without further ado, let me introduce none other than Benjamin Yong of the BIG Group. Ben, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you for having me.
It's a real pleasure. Okay, let's go into the questions. Bright Ideas Group, right? Is that what it stands for, or it can stand for a whole lot of other things?
I think it could stand for whatever you want it to stand for. I think it was a name we came up with initially with the core group that started it. We were brainstorming for names and ideas, and how it came about was Abby kind of suggested, yeah, you know, we're just a bunch of idiots following, you know, whatever Ben's doing, so why don't we just call it Ben's Idiotic Group? And I thought, yeah, maybe a bit hard to sell the idea to prospective investors. So we kind of kept the acronym with it and then played around with it, and then we kind of liked the word big itself.
Big itself,
because that's what we were talking about, you know, dreaming big, doing big. And then ironically, when we came up with the name of the supermarket, Ben's Independent Grocer, it fit quite in. It fit together with what we were trying to create. So that kind of sealed the deal, you know, when everything seems to go in the flow without being too difficult or too...
It feels right, yeah. There's not too many barriers or hurdles, so to speak.
Exactly. So when things go that well, you kind of realize, okay, we might be onto something, and it feels right, it feels good. It's the right name, so that's why we went with Big.
Amazing, awesome. When did the love for food start? I mean, I read that you come from a very well-established family as far as marketing, retail, you know, is concerned, but there wasn't any food there. I mean, your dad was the big guy of Metro Jaya. Your mom was she was the owner of Miss Reed. With all that kind of background, then suddenly you food. So you know, I'm a foodie as well. I love my food. So I want to know, when did that spark for food start in you?
I don't know. According to my mom, I used to enjoy playing masak-masak when I was a kid. So perhaps it started then. But I don't know. When I look at kids nowadays, everybody plays with all sorts of toys, kitchen utensils. But I think in terms of my first food experience, I suppose, when I lived with my grandmother, she literally force-fed me. I think that was when food became kind of like important in that aspect. And then after that, growing up in the different households, food was always the focus of the family. Like the kitchen was always the heart of the home.
Right.
And I think in some sense I was very, very lucky that I was exposed to a lot of travel when I was younger. And I think that for some reason always related back to food to me. And I think living in Melbourne did shape that quite significantly, because it was such a melting pot of different cultures, of different cuisines, and it was so accessible to everybody. It wasn't, you know, European dining was like, you've got fine dining, which is very fancy, and then you've got fish and chips, that was it. There was nothing in the middle, whereas in Australia, it's accessible to anybody at an affordable price.
So did this idea start brewing then, like one day or after university? What did you study? Not F&B?
No. I did psychology.
Did you know that then, that you wanted to do something with food?
No, I think I was fairly... somebody once asked me, oh, have you always been so ambitious? And I said, no, actually, when I was a kid, I was very easy-go-lucky. I think, you know, going to university.
Believe that. I can believe that.
I wasn't very sure what I wanted to do. And I think it was just, you know, falling in love with food and cooking at home in Melbourne, that kind of got me thinking, okay, I wonder whether I can make a living out of this.
And then that led to the first outlet in 2004 in...
Yes.
Was it in Miss Reed, your mom's
that was
shop?
part of Miss Reed.
And the little cafe. I remember reading about this some time back, and now I'm putting all the pieces together. You called it Delicious. How did... Okay, you said that you'd never thought about starting a restaurant. You weren't that ambitious. But how did Delicious in Mum's Miss Reed clothing outlet start?
I think it started from a standpoint of, you know, we spoke about... I mean, my mother and her very good friend Abby, you know, her classmate, in fact, from Ipoh, have always been very, very obsessed with food. I mean, they used to cook a lot. I mean, you talk about private dining culture, they started it before it became a culture. I mean, they used to cook at home and used to sell seats to friends or friends of friends to not to earn an income, but it was just out of interest, because they would enjoy cooking, yeah. As in, you know, here's the dining table, there's 10 people.
Okay.
Either we sell it as a private dinner or,
Right,
or you know,
okay.
individual people came.
Yeah.
So they used to do it for fun when I was growing up, when I was 7 or 8 or 9 years old, right?
Okay.
So I think they kind of started that, and they've always been talking about, oh, we should do a little cafe and so on and so forth. And I guess with me coming back from Melbourne and the opportunity presented itself where one time I was working for Miss Reed back then, doing
with
business
Mom.
development, and one time kind of gave us this very big space, and we said, okay, you know, we're not going to be able to fill 3,000 square feet, you know, so why don't we talk about this cafe that we've been talking about for a long time?
Okay.
Let's try doing it, you know. I mean, let's look at, I mean, trust me, we were completely clueless. We had no idea what we were doing.
Okay, because F&B is new to the family. You guys know retail, clothing,
precisely. And it was purely accidental. We kind of said, okay, let's try this small thing and see how it goes. And there was no fancy projection. There was no fancy business plan. It started with a menu. It always started from a menu. We kind of said, okay, these are the few things we'll do. Then we kind of thought, maybe not enough. Okay, we added a few more things, and then we expanded it.
Okay.
And, you know, I think in a weird way, we caught a break. We catered to a market that, you know, wanted something of what we were trying to create, which was good, affordable food.
And like you said, I mean, I get the impression that that was your learning steps to opening an F&B business. That was your baby. Now, how do you give up a baby like that? You sold delicious chain of restaurants to, I find problems even giving up my clothes. I mean, you had to give up like chains of delicious restaurants to, you know, how do you let go of your first baby? I mean, how come? That's a very serious business decision. I mean, advise us on why do you need to let go of something that's successful like that?
I don't think it's about letting go. I think sometimes, you know, it's just the way things happen. You're not really quite sure of what becomes of the business. And I think as we grew organically, we brought in investors to help grow the business. And up to a certain point, when you realize there's a conflict in direction or in philosophy where it's a little bit difficult to work together, that's when you kind of have to question, okay, where are we going to go from here?
Okay.
And I think for me, letting go was very easy because it was the team that I built it with that was more important than the brand. The brand was merely a business. It's only an object. But the people in it, the relationships we built together with the chefs and with Abby and with Sabri, with Mimi, with my mother, that's something that it was their decision. It wasn't just my solo decision to say, let's sell out and move on, you know.
Okay.
I mean, it was done collectively with them, and they said, okay, it's the right thing to do, let's do it. So when I left, they kind of left together, and that made the transition very, very simple because it was the people that I cared most about that was intact. They were delicious. They were delicious
so
to
the
me.
main, if you were to pick the main reason why you did that selling, is it because of a business decision when sell something when it's successful, while it's
No,
so
I don't think it
successful?
sells something while it's successful. That was never the intention. I was quite happy to grow the business together, I think. But I think in business and under different constraints and conditions, people have got different priorities. I mean, to be fair, it was a public listed company that obviously the objective and the agenda is very, very different from mine. Where it needs to be a number-driven business, whereas for me, somewhat foolishly, it's a passion-driven business. So,
you want to take it on your own terms?
A little bit like that, and without compromising our principle of what we're trying to do. And I think, you know...
So can I say that's the main driving force behind you saying, okay, let me let go of this baby. It gave me, it taught me, now it's time for me to do things on my own terms, so I'm going to start a whole host of 16 other restaurants. So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about how someone exponentially grows a business into 16 restaurants in a span of 1 to 2 years. My gosh, right after this break, we'll find out. Hi, you're still watching In Person with me, Lakshmi Baker, and we're still talking to Benjamin Yong. When I left you off just now, I said how he exponentially grew 16 restaurants in about 1 to 2 years, but actually it's 23 restaurants. Gosh, I can't even begin to imagine. To open one restaurant is an uphill task. How do you do this, Ben? I mean, I don't think I've heard or interviewed anyone else who's done something like this. How do you do 23 restaurants? What is the winning formula?
One restaurant will give you the same amount of headaches as 23. So if you're going to get the headaches, you must enjoy it. To be honest, I don't think there is a winning formula, nor was there a proper strategy. It kind of just happened. I won't use the word organically because it was a lot faster than the first time round.
Yeah.
But it drove, I guess, the excitement, kind of, you know.
Infectious.
Infectious. That would be a very good word to use.
Yeah.
That, you know, it is infectious. So keep opening, and and we've reached to a point where we kind of figured, okay, we've done enough of that. You know, we need to kind of slow down and fix problems, because it was
establish what is already there.
Precisely, and rectify things that, you know, we need to hear what our customers are telling us, i.e. food and consistent service needs to be improved. So these are key areas that we need to look at to see how we can adapt and improve on it. But I think the initial part was just the adrenaline high of go, 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 go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just to name a few, Ben has Ben's, of course. We're in Publica right now. We're at his restaurant called Ben's. There's even Ben's Independent Grocer. I love the concept. It's like a mini neighborhood in there. You walk around, there's a cafe, there's the vegetables, there's the news vendor. So you can actually hang out in the supermarket. You know, and then you've got Tate for the intimate fine dining. We've got Estate. I've actually eaten there as well. I've eaten most of his outlets except for Plan B. Just to name a few, I'm sure these names ring a bell for you guys. It's amazing. From what I see, it's almost as though, okay, I've done like a sort of like cafe kind of thing. Now I want to do like an intimate bar kind of thing. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do everything. Right. And that's why it grew to 23. Is that why?
Well, a little bit, but I think a lot of times it's also evolving. So for example, Tate was the speakeasy bar we wanted to do, because I lived across the street, and I kind of thought, okay, I'm at this age where, and I'm quite sure if I'm in the same boat, there will be other people like me who wants a quieter bar to go for a drink, you know, a night camp kind of place. And we kind of thought, okay, why not create that with Tate? And then with the success, then we kind of started conceptualizing others which we're rolling out, you know, like for example, we've got DLS opening soon. And then there are concepts where it doesn't naturally work. So for example, Estate, you mentioned, that for us was initially started as a British pub, but it's not really taken off well on its own. So we've had to adapt and to the situation, and then sit together and say, okay, what's wrong? How can we make it better?
Right.
So collectively we sat down together and said, okay, it's not working. What else is missing? So we kind of figured, okay, steakhouse. We don't have a steakhouse in our repertoire. How can we make it better? So we figured, and if we're going to be doing something, we want to be the best at it. So we kind of figured we're going to do a very good steakhouse. So we have since then changed Estate to Beast, which is now a steak-focused, I would use the word steak-obsessed restaurant.
I must definitely go and try one of these days.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, you believe in flying all over the world, sampling and tasting new foods. Are you the sort of person who wake up one day and say, I want to have breakfast in Paris and fly there?
No, I wish I was as whimsical as that, but no.
I mean, you can do it, but it's just a time constraint, right? I mean,
I think it's time constraint, but it also is learning that, you know, that opening 23 restaurants comes with 800 responsibilities. That we, you know, we're a team of 800, and I can't be as whimsical as I would be normally, where you know, you're not in charge of so many people's livelihood. But there is a point where I read or reference something that looks interesting, I'll jot it down, and then the next time we make trips together, whether it's family trips or with the chefs, we will go and check it out.
Gosh, I'd like to see Benjamin Yong's food directory, you know, and notes. I mean, you'll have like a sort of like a timeout KL in his notebook itself, you know. What about, from foodie to foodie, the best stuff that you've sampled from around the world? Let's start with best appetizer, best main course, and best dessert. I know it's difficult to pick like that, but what just, you know, jumps off your head from what you've eaten so far?
To be honest, I've never thought of it that way, and so I probably won't be able to tell you exactly what it is. I can share with you dishes that comes to mind. So for example,
the first one that crosses your mind for appetizer.
So appetizer, for example, was something, I know this is not a product plug, but you know, the other day we have some new chefs at Hidden Misses, and they make this confit ocean trout with a capellini kombu pasta, and that truly was spectacular. And I just thought, wow, it was something that I was so proud of the team, that they were able to create this dish that could be as good as you can get anywhere else. You know what I mean? And then you've got places like, for example, in Paris, where we go and we have steak frit at l'Entrecôte, you know, which is basically steak and fries. And you queue up for an hour and you go there for I wouldn't say the best steak, but the best sauce and the best French fries. So things like that, you know, they stick up in my memory. But if you ask me to isolate it, it takes a while.
I guess when a food business, it's just too much, too many. Have we talked about dessert yet? Not yet.
No, we're not there. But you know, I mean, before moving on to dessert, I had an excellent burrata the other day in Melbourne.
What's a burrata?
It's this cheese.
I've heard a burrito, but
no, it's like a mozzarella cheese, but it's very creamy and very rich. It's beautiful. It is very, very silky. But it was served in an Indian restaurant. And never had I imagined in a million years an Italian cheese mixed with an Indian mint pesto served with roti canai.
Oh, wow.
Tastes good. I mean, when I saw it on the menu, I went, the burrata sold me because I love burrata. This cheese is just purely amazing. But yet that combination, I wouldn't have imagined it in a million years. But you know, when it comes together in the plate, spectacular. So you see things like that sticks out in
those
in
individual
my mind.
flavors and combinations that, I mean, because you are a person who's in the F&B business, so immediately your mind goes to things like that, those unique combinations, rather than just say a dish or a restaurant.
No, but I mean, there is also things in its simplicity that works well. For example, one of the best hot dogs I had was not in America, but in UK in a street side festival, and you know, it really was an amazing hot dog. And it's ironic that you find it in England rather than in America where it's supposed to be land of hot dogs.
You should give me the context after this because I head to England pretty often. I must go try it.
Definitely.
Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break, and when we come back, I want to talk to Ben about what most people in the F&B business experience when it comes to hiring staff. We need to know and get some advice on this for those of you who want to begin this business. It's right after this commercial break. Hi, you're still watching In Person with me, Lakshmi Baker, and we're still talking to Benjamin Yong of the Big Group. Ben, when we left them just now, we were talking about basically staff management. Now, Ben, what is your motto when it comes to finding the best employees? And once you find the best employees, the second challenge is to retain them. What is your advice or secret on this?
I think, you know, for me, it's always about finding people that's a little bit passion obsessed. So whether they're passionate about their food, their drinks, their design, their marketing, their management style, whatever it is, there needs to be that zing in what they do to share the philosophy of the company with. And I think once we find that in people, we try and work together to bring it out in them. In terms of retaining it, it really is about building that relationship while we work, whilst we work together. A lot of times is learning to respect each other, respecting boundaries.
Right.
And then also, of course, understanding their needs. What is it that they want? What can I do? What can we do as a company that will help them advance further in their field?
Okay.
So, and I think hopefully a lot of times is once we can capture that, they would really excel within the company because, you know, they're already naturally talented and they're already naturally passionate about what they do. Our job really is just purely to provide them with the right tools.
Right. Are you a good cook?
Tricky question. I love cooking, but I'm not a chef.
Okay.
I
enjoy it.
I enjoy cooking at home. I enjoy entertaining. I probably can get away with up to 20 people. Anything more, I tend to falter a little bit.
So you like having your house parties where you recreate your experiences in the comfort of your home and invite friends and family.
Yeah.
I hope I'll be on that list in future. Just kidding. Yeah. So what give me a day in a party of Benjamin Yong. Like what happens?
At the party?
At the party, yeah, in your home.
I think a lot of it is always around the kitchen.
Okay.
You know, it's
you cook everything. You get help.
I cook everything. I know, but I do have help. You know, I'm terrible at chopping onions and peeling garlic, unfortunately. So I do have help, but it's actually a lot of it is the process of preparing. So a lot of times, I think my friends are kind of used to showing up for dinner and knowing that dinner won't be served 2 hours later because it is part of the process of cooking together, sharing, having a drink, chatting, catching up with what's going on.
Okay, I picked this what you said out of somewhere.
Yep.
It says, I'm a passionate entrepreneur, which may not necessarily translate into a big bottom line. I love that because that screams passion. Can you explain, because you have achieved big bottom lines, you know, and that's the message that we probably want to send out to people, that when you focus on the right thing, the big bottom lines come.
Yep.
Could you explain it in your point of view or perspective of this?
I think unfortunately it also screams nightmare to potential investors. But no, I always believe if we do something right and you really believe it deep down that it is the right thing to do for the business, it will come back in kind. I guess it's some sort of a perhaps karma, I guess, same philosophy of karma, do good unto others and others will do good unto you. And I think that's the way it should be. You look after your staff looks after the customer looks after the company.
Sure.
It's a very simple equation.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little bit more complicated than what it seems, but it always boils down to that. Look after your people.
Right.
And I think that kind of summarizes that philosophy about doing things for the right reason and not just a cost-based reason. I think if you want to do that purely on a numbers principle, there are a lot of other better businesses to be in, but we're in the people business, and like all people, we are unpredictable, whether they're consumers, whether they're staff, whether they're from HQ office. Human behavior is unpredictable.
It is, isn't it?
And I think because of that, we have to be able to adapt and adjust accordingly, sensibly, I suspect.
Right. What is your business motto, Ben? And advice to those who want to build it big like you.
I don't really have one that I live by, in terms of building it big. I think a lot of it is a step at a time. Truly believe in.
You said that quite a few times, so I'm believing you now.
Yeah, I think honestly, I've had experiences where I've been significantly more ambitious but being ill prepared, and it's failed before. Like I said, is not a surefire with all concepts. Some concepts where we were a lot more aggressive, like back then we had Delish and we had planned to roll out 20 stores and big business plans, and it just fell flat at the beginning. So that kind of reminds me to take small steps and kind of be very, very conscious and aware of what's going on around you to be able to adapt and change.
How much sleep do you get a night?
Quite a fair bit. There are days where I catch up, and there are days where I just work through a little bit more. And
talking about expansion, you are big in Malaysia.
Yes.
Are you planning to expand to other countries? Is it necessary in the model of a successful business that you have to expand, you must?
I don't think it's so much a model business. I think it's just a challenge, like something that you set yourself within your own targets or your own goals. What is it that you want to achieve? I suppose after a while where you think, okay, I've managed to do this here in KL, can I do it elsewhere? Can I do it on an international platform? And where would that platform be? And I think most importantly, it really is about opportunities, where the opportunities present itself. I mean, we got very lucky because we were in KL at the right time, at the right place. So the question is, where else can we possibly be?
So where else can you possibly be? Are there plans currently as we speak?
Plans, there's always a lot of plans. I think execution is just something else, but we want to be 100% ready before we roll out.
What is the biggest challenge in expanding to, say, even to our neighbours, Singapore? What would be the biggest challenge?
I think in terms of delivering consistency, the same theory that my parents tell me all the time, that there's only one of me and there's only one of each of us within KL. So to be able to go to Singapore, we need to duplicate that, not just from the top, but everybody else. Or whether it's through a simple SOP manual. But it is not easy. So like I said, going back to being ready before we go out.
If it wasn't the F&B business, what would it have been?
I'll be a world traveler, I reckon.
Really?
I enjoy traveling.
Well, how are you going to get money just traveling? The money has to come from somewhere.
Oh, then the
well,
first wish,
the
first wish needs to come through. I need to be a trust fund kid, which I'm not. You see.
You're not a trust fund kid. With
I'm
all
not a trust fund
kid.
Your
parents again?
But if I was, then I'll be a world traveler.
Okay, great, awesome. Okay, I always end my interviews by playing a little game.
Yes, sure.
And I have with me what I call the Pandora's box.
Okay.
Bunch of fun questions. It's my Pandora's apple, actually.
Very interesting.
I'm going to open this and let you pick a question. Let's see what fate brings you today.
All right, let's see.
Okay, let's open and see what that's about.
What award would you love to win and for what achievement?
Oh, what a brilliant question for Van.
Are you sure there are not all the same questions in there?
No, it's not all. You want to try to open?
Joking.
Honestly, there isn't. But you probably have already won a lot of awards.
No, I don't think so. I think...
so then that's the right question for you.
I wouldn't think of awards as in awards. I think what I like to achieve is to create something that is specifically, uniquely Malaysian. I tell people the fact that, we are a Malaysian product, we're a Malaysian brand, we grew from Malaysia. I mean, I like to think that we will bring it to an international level later on. But I think that's the achievement I strive to get to, where we can create something that is universally uniquely Malaysian.
Right.
That's my ultimate achievement goal. But I think the award that comes with it, I don't know. I haven't thought of it.
You
I haven't thought about it.
I truly believe.
I think the award will be when somebody on the street, on the side street, in the middle of nowhere, tells me, we've heard of Big, and I think that would be.
That would be me. I'm a girl from the street. I've heard of Big. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Before we say bye-bye to the viewership, right? What has been your the biggest challenge in this whole journey, Ben?
Biggest challenge. There's not enough hours in a day. That one is very true.
Right, okay.
But I think a lot of it is just getting everybody within the team onto the same page.
Okay.
That means going in one direction.
In one line with your goals and what your aspirations for the company and
Absolutely.
the team is.
And I think that is probably the hardest thing to do, but we are slowly getting there.
I'm sure you're going to go from strength to strength with this prototype of amazing achievement, the chain of businesses. It's going to go only bigger. I've been so happy and privileged to sit here and talk to you today. You're truly an inspiration. Thank you so much for this opportunity and speaking with me in person. Thank you, Ben. That's all from me, Lakshmi Baker, in this episode of In Person. Stay tuned next week when we will be interviewing another sensational personality right here on In Person. Bye for now.